screen a little bit.
All right. We are live. It's Wednesday. And it's Riah and I are in a great mood. So we are here to talk to you about how to hire and how to make the best use of a VA. I am so glad that you're here, y'all. If you are watching me on the replay, don't hesitate to make comments because I circle back and comment, and Riah will do the same thing. She's also in the group, so don't be shy. So let me start with where I usually start, which is to introduce myself and tell you that I'm Elise Tager. I'm a business coach for ambitious female entrepreneurs, and I help you get to the next level in your business, no matter where you are. I help you reach that next level. I do one-to-one coaching. I have programs. I have a new program coming up, hint, 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 in September. And so, you know, I can be had and would love to help you grow your business. Just one thing about the conversation today. I'm coming to you from StreamYard. StreamYard is, hey, Carol, nice to see you. So StreamYard is a third-party streaming platform. I usually don't go live from Facebook itself because I find it's more limiting. With StreamYard, I can broadcast on multiple locations. So right now we're simulcasting on the Level Up Entrepreneur group, also on my business page, also on YouTube. So, you know, the StreamYard allows me to do that. That's the good news. The bad news is that I can't see your name in the comments. So if you drop a comment in on Facebook or YouTube, it shows up on my stream as Facebook user or YouTube user. So that doesn't do me any good. I want to make sure that I know who's talking, who I'm talking to. So if you drop a comment in, and I hope you do, even if you're on the replay, tell me your name so that Riah and I know who's there and we can talk with you, not at you. So I say that every time I do a live, but I just want to make sure you do it. And Carol, you got the message because you dropped your name in, so that's great. Let me get going. I will allow Riah to introduce herself in just a second, but I want to give you just kind of a framework about why I wanted to talk about this today. So the title of this conversation is How a VA Can Build Your Business. And it's an interview with Riah Gonzales, the fabulous Riah Gonzales. Riah and I have done a bunch of stuff. She's done a Facebook Live with me in the past. I've been on her podcast a couple of times. We do a lot of work with each other. We just love hanging out together. So Riah, I'm glad you're here again. But the topic in particular, why I'm talking about this today, is I have had good VAs and bad VAs. And really, I should be saying I've had good experiences with VAs and not so good experiences. And so what's the difference? The difference is, and this is, again, a very personal experience. This is me showing you how one can fail, even when one has the best intentions. So I've had a bunch of VAs throughout the years because I've been in business for a long time. But when this has not worked out for me, it hasn't worked out because I didn't really know what I needed before I went out shopping. Did I really seek out and get the right fit, or was I just anxious to get someone started? So I didn't do enough due diligence on my part. Did I give them good direction? Oh my gosh, you know, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't work with people and let them know what your expectations are and what what direction is that they have to be moving in, how can they possibly succeed? And then the last thing, and I really want Riah to talk about this, was I asking them to do things that would be most helpful in my business? Most helpful in my business. So it's one thing to say to a VA, here, follow up on all my emails. But is that going to free you up to do what you need to do your best work? Is there some other way or additional way that you can be using a VA? This takes some strategic thinking about how best to use a VA. I have made all those mistakes over the course of my career. And hopefully Riah can help us nip those in the bud. So Riah, come introduce yourself to the group.
Yeah. So I'm Riah Gonzales. I am the founder and CEO of Link Consulting Solutions. And we serve mostly female entrepreneurs, although I got a male client last week, so that was fun. We serve mostly female entrepreneurs in helping them increase their capacity and their connection. And we do that in two ways. We do virtual assistant matchmaking, and we also help with client re-engagement consulting. So I do a lot of these conversations, even outside of just in my networking conversations, where people have questions about leveraging their VA in the best way possible, delegation, all of these types of topics. So this is a very familiar and happy area for me.
Good. Again, I noticed that there are more people joining us today. If you're joining us today, please drop a comment in the comments section with your name so we know who's there. Otherwise, you don't show up, or you show up as Facebook user. So do Riah and I the favor of letting us know that you're here, and use your name in the comments. Okay, let me get started with some questions. And again, this is based on some really bad experiences I have had, and I take full responsibility for these bad experiences. I don't know that it was the person who was my VA. I think it was more me being not a good manager. So, Riah, what's the difference between a good VA and a not so good VA, in your opinion?
The leader.
Touche. Right.
I do think there are, technically speaking, I think there are people who are just not cut out to be a good VA. So while that is an obvious, obviously speaking, there are people who just shouldn't be a VA. They're not well suited to to being a virtual assistant. But I think that most negative situations could be resolved with better leadership.
Point taken,
so yeah, I think that's and I say this from experience because I myself have done, I myself have not been a good leader at times, and so I think that I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it with my clients, and what I mean by that is there's something that Gary Vaynerchuk says, that if anything goes wrong in his company, it's his fault.
Yeah.
And that really, I take that to heart, because it means that you did not equip them properly. You did not give them good enough instructions, or you hired the wrong person above them,
right,
who didn't lead them properly. And so that may put you off and think, then maybe I'm not a leader, so I shouldn't have a VA. The answer is not don't have a VA. The answer is do your due diligence and your research, and engage in conversations like this, so that when you do bring on a VA, you feel more prepared, because what your contribution to the situation is more than what the VA is going to in terms of making it a good relationship.
So that brings me to a follow-up question. And actually, before I get to that, one of the things that has to happen before you even start looking for a VA is knowing what you need from them, right? Yes. I think a lot of people start hiring or even finding a contractor because they know they're completely overwhelmed. They can't get it all done. They're hysterical, right? And so
that's
they just
worst
start
time.
Right,
yeah, worst
right.
time.
And so they just start. They pluck someone from the universe and they throw them in, and you have to do the thinking about. Well, tell us what you do the thinking about.
Yeah. So I actually have a real life situation where this happened. And it was before, we all make mistakes in terms of, when I was refining the VA matchmaking service, I didn't exactly know yet, have a pin on my ideal client as to how they were going to show up in this service. Mm-hmm. And so I had a client who was all over the place, like you said, very overwhelmed. And it was kind of a bit of an SHIT show in the process. And afterwards, we kind of did a recap and we're like, why was that? It ended up fine. It ended up great but I had to do a lot of additional coaching, a lot of additional consulting to get it there. And my VA and I had a recap and said, why was that so hard? Why did that feel so different than other experiences? And what we realized is that we thought we were catering to the overwhelmed person, but no, because the overwhelmed person thinks that the VA is going to bring the solution.
Yes.
And what people need to understand is the VA is not a strategist. they follow your direction.
Right.
So you need to have that in line before you bring the VA on. That doesn't mean that it has to be perfect, but you need to have a general idea of the arena of what it is that you're going to be having them do, because they will not bring the solution. They will bring more chaos, and you
Oh, I
will
love
put
it.
chaos on them
Mhm.
because they can't solve your problem. You are the only person in your mind. And then what you've done is you've now created additional homework of having to task this VA with things when you don't even know what end is up. So I tell my clients, this is a VA is an up level, not a chaos, confusion, all of that solution. They are not your strategist. They are an up level technique. They are a second set of hands when you know what needs to be done.
Right.
And it's clear what needs to be done. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, there can be some learning together. Like, let's say you have a new system that you're putting into place and you kind of have an idea of how it is, and you are going to train them on what you know, and you're going to let them take off with that. That doesn't mean you have to master that system first, but you need to have an idea, and you need
Mhm.
to have an idea of what you're going to have them do on that. So yeah, the chaos and confusion, they're not the answer to that.
Right. Oh, that's so right on. That's great. And in that same vein, um, what makes for the best experience with the VA? It's you said it's strong leadership, but can you drill down a little
Strong
bit more? Is
leadership.
there
But yeah,
more?
yeah, you can go dial it down even more. And that is, which I'm sure we'll talk about more, but absolutely communication and relationship. These are real people. They are not robots.
Hmm.
They actually care about their work. They care what you think about their work. You need to understand and pay attention to their communication style, or ask them what they prefer. Like, for example, my VA that I have now doesn't really like pop-up meetings. We have a scheduled meeting on Sundays, and then we have Slack conversations during the week. And that works really, really well. And then I'll save any extended conversation for our scheduled time.
Right.
um but some people need more feedback, some people need less feedback, some people need more involvement, some people need more autonomy. I think that regardless, there should be accountability and clear direction.
So let's
But yeah.
so let's talk a little bit about that. God, this is such a multi-layered conversation. Um, some of the best experiences I've had are when I brought someone in, or I had someone come in for not just a particular project, to start working with me with the understanding that they were providing skill sets that I did not have and or was not good at, right? So I am not a detail person. I'm the first one to say I'm not a detail person. And so I usually bring in people, whether it's a staff member or a VA or a contractor, who's fabulous with detail because I don't have it. And
Right.
so one of the things that I go in knowing is that we're going to start with where we start, and
Yes.
it's going to get better from there. And
Yep.
typically that VA brings more to the table than I do,
Yep.
because they are the detail person. And
Hmm.
so it's on me to stay open, not say this is how we did it or we do it, but to say,
Right.
educate me, tell me, how do
Yes.
you think this could be done better? So
100%.
that's, but many women entrepreneurs aren't aren't as open to that. There's whole control issue about needing to know
Oh my
everything,
God.
or right.
That's like objection number one. Control.
Mm. So talk
Yeah.
to me more about how to create that good experience with your VA.
I think so. Number one, I think that weekly meetings are really important, even if they're
Mm.
short.
Hmm.
So they could be a 10 or 15-minute check in, but face to face time where you talk about your objectives for the week. You check in to make sure they have all the tools that they need, ask for any feedback, address any of those questions that needed a little bit more than, like a Slack message or an email could address.
Hmm.
But that solves, the face to face solves a lot, but it also develops rapport. and you
Mm-hmm.
start to see them as a person, as part of your team, as part of,
Mm-hmm.
what's building your brand, and they buy in more because they buy in. For God's sakes, I've had people who've stayed with me long past when they should have stayed with me because they loved me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I love you, but like, you need to do what's right for you. You
Right.
know what I mean?
You
Like,
can move on, right?
yeah, like that's fine. But I mean, yay, I'm awesome. But like, but I also like love you enough to know that this is not like where you should be. You
Mm-hmm.
are destined for greater things. So meetings, super important. Daily reports, also super important. I think that having or some type of frequency of reports, because it's a communication tool, it's a trust building tool, and it allows for open dialogue. So if you're like, oh, I see you did this, tell me more about that. Do you know, like, or maybe you don't even know that that's going on in the background. You know what I mean? Like, and I always tell my VAs, I tell them, even if you did nothing marketable, like nothing market, what am I trying to say? Nothing of value that like says like I accomplished this task because you were doing research for however many hours. Just say, I did research for 4 hours. These are the areas where I looked. This is what I learned during this process. This is where I'm headed next time.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I want. I don't want nothing,
Mm-hmm.
because then I think you did nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's trust on both sides. And then I think the last component to that would be a really good task project management tool, which I think you've said you use Asana.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that having clear tasks outlined in like almost in micro tasks allows you, number one, to see progress without conversation, and number two, it provides more clarity overall in terms of what your expectation is, and it's in a centralized location.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I think the trust issue goes both ways, and as you start working with someone, it is a real benefit to them if you can be extremely specific about, especially in the beginning,
Yes.
what your
Yes.
needs are, and lay it out with tasks they need to accomplish, when they need to accomplish it by, what your expectations are. And it might sound like micromanaging in the beginning, but in the beginning, what you're doing is establishing clarity. And I think anyone new into a situation is benefited by that. Let them think they're being micromanaged 2 months down the road, and hopefully you're not doing it at that level
Right.
2 months down the road. But to get started, you have to provide this structure that allows them,
Yes.
within which they can be successful. So they
Right.
know what
Well,
successful means,
I have a little story about that too that I like to tell. My team in particular is in the Philippines, but my VA, it took her like 6 months to tell me that this had been a problem, and I was like, I wish you would have told me that a long
Yeah,
time ago. But
really.
so I am a kind of person. I'm also not a details person. I am a very like laissez-faire, like big ideas, like I do things in spurts, and then and then I'll like hyper focus on things, and then I'll do need a break. And anyways, I'm not a big a details person. So the way I work best is when someone gives me a task, a deadline, a metric, and then lets me do it my own way.
Right. Get out of the
So
way.
I
Right.
thought that by leading that way would be respectful of their autonomy and their skill set. So I did that for a long time. And she actually told me, she's like, you have created the most anxiety for me ever, because I never know until the very end of the project if I lived up to your metrics or your standards. There's no checkpoint.
Yeah.
There's no like,
Wow.
you're on the right track, or like, this is totally wrong. And she's like, I need you, like, even if you're not gonna like go down to the level of like direct tasks, which some people really prefer that. She's like, you got to build in milestones here, because I'm lost. Like, I don't know what you want. I'm like winging it. I hope you like it. I hope at the end of this, you're going to like it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, Riah, I've had exactly the same experience, not with a VA, but with an employee that I had. And my management style, which I've since improved, but at the time, my management style was, give them enough rope to hang themselves. I mean, here's the task I want done, or here's the areas where you need to step up and do the thing, and go. And let me know if you need help, or let me know if you have questions or whatever. And so I would just let people go. And, it takes a more mature employee or VA to come back and say, wait, I need more than this. Thanks for trusting me, but it's not working here. So I had to learn how to be a manager before I started being to be able to be a successful manager. And it takes, as I said, a mature person or a self-confident person to be able to come back and say, I need more from you, or this isn't working for me.
Yes. So I think that doing that, at least for the first, and have a dialogue about it.
Mm-hmm.
Say like how, to repeat the story. Say, hey, I watched this live stream and this crazy chick said this story, and how would you respond to that? Would that be unsettling for you, or would you prefer more direction? And say, this is how I'm going to do it for the beginning, and then we can reconvene and talk about how that's working, and then make adjustments. And you kind of set the bar for the very beginning as more involved, and then you can let loose a little bit. But I think that even in the letting loose, there should always be connection points. You know what I mean? Like there should be accountability set in, because otherwise what happens is you lose touch with that side of your business completely. They're doing it and you don't know what's happening.
Right. I think also I agree with you about having an in-person or face-to-face once a week, because there's not as much warm fuzzy in a Zoom call, but at least there's more than if you're just trading emails or Slacks. You need to see into someone's eyes. You need to be able to read their body language. It's so important that you do that at least once a week, so you maintain the connection.
Yes.
I wasn't doing that either. So it's really important. This might be too broad a question, Riah, but what are the best types of things that a VA should be doing for an entrepreneur to help them build a business? That's pretty broad, but how would you address
it is pretty broad, but I can tell you, I'll break it down in a couple ways. The answer is everything, but I can tell you that what I most often see in people's requests for help is basic social media management. So people who are like, I just want to do my job. I know I have to throw some crap up there, but I don't really care, and I don't want to do it, and I want somebody else to do it. So that's number one. Another one will be like CRM management, so customer relationship management. So actually digging into the client base and emailing, saying, hey, how you doing? Is there any, is there anything I can do for you? Client interaction. I see a lot of like basic bookkeeping. I think that's the first thing. Even if you don't get a VA, I think that's the first thing that you should contract out as a bookkeeper. If you don't have just don't do it yourself.
Right. Get it off your desk. Right.
Yeah, get it off your desk. We are not bookkeepers. We are entrepreneurs. Right. Unless you're a bookkeeper, then.
Then but even then, you should be building your business.
To you.
Right.
But I see just a variety. It really depends on the industry that the people are in. Like, just like, so I have 3 clients right now that we're searching for VAs. One is wanting somebody who's very Pinterest heavy. Her business is like revolves around Pinterest. So she needed somebody who specifically knew Pinterest and Tailwind, which is an app that's used with Pinterest. The other is a photographer. She wanted somebody who did systems, because she doesn't have a lot of systems set up in her business, even though she's been in business for a long time. But she also was like, it would be awesome if they had a little bit of like InDesign or Photoshop, or like if I could give them little tasks, like photography based tasks. We found people for all these people. Then I have a physical therapist who needs somebody to do more administrative tasks for him and stuff in his electronic medical records. But also, he's not opposed to the idea if they have a little bit of a medical background, because then they would understand the medical terminology and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I say, like, there's a little bit of like flavor of popsicle for everybody.
Yeah, that's
Like,
great.
but you have to identify, like, where's the my old coach, and she's younger than me, so I don't mean it that way, but she used to say, what's the neck bleeding problem? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
what's the jugular hemorrhage here? You know what I mean? Because that's where you start.
yeah.
And so that's going to
Oh,
change
I
for
love
every
that.
single business, but in general, the best things that VAs can do for you are the things that are directly taking away from revenue generating activity. Anything in your business that is taking you away from making money, being in front of people, speaking to people, closing sales, scheduling appointments, anything like that needs to come off your plate.
Yeah,
I love your analogy of like just scooping your desk.
right.
Yeah. Just scoop
Yeah,
the desk into the wastebasket of your VA, and they
yeah.
shall help you sort it out.
That's awesome. I love that. Wait, I had one more question that went right out of my head. Shoot, it was a good one. Let me look back at my notes. How do you evaluate them? Well, I guess
Yeah.
you've answered that about setting up
Well,
requirements and
I do also, like, I'm not as good as doing formal evaluations past the like first sort of probationary evaluation, but I do mine is more on an ongoing basis. Like, I try to provide, instead of waiting for a big, because maybe this is because I've reacted strongly to this. Like, I've had somebody who, a previous employer who, like, waited until my evaluation to drop a bomb on me of something,
Mhm,
critique on me. And I was like, you could have just told me that. Like, why would you wait? And now it feels
right.
so serious. Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? When it could have been like, it was like a wardrobe thing or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, you could
Yeah.
have just said, like, hey, we would like you to do this and that or whatever. Like, so I personally prefer to give feedback, um, right away. Like, for example, I said, like, my VA had to go off camera on something that was being recorded for a client. And I said, hey, small feedback. I want you on camera the whole time.
Mm,
And then she's like, yeah, super sorry about that. My internet was being funky and I wanted to preserve bandwidth, whatever, but I should have told you.
mhm.
And, like things like that, or I have her send emails to me before they go out to clients, and then I tweak them. And then I'm like, okay, I want you to read through how I tweak them, so you see the rationale, and like I want you to like ask me questions before you send it, because eventually I'm not going to edit these for you. Eventually you're going to be the one doing them, but I want it done this way.
Mhm, mhm.
And so that's how I think evaluation on the best level is small critique, constructive criticism on a daily basis, where it's like collaborative,
Oh, that's awesome. Because then you're
you
not, as
know?
you said, you're not hit with those surprises that are
Yes,
so demoralizing when you hear them,
yes,
not
yes.
good. So, Raya, where would we
Mhm.
find these unicorns that you're
I
describing?
know, I know. Well, before I tell you where you really want to go, I should say that there are a lot of amazing US based virtual assistants, both, I'm sure, in this group, in other Facebook groups, on Upwork and Fiverr. So if you're looking for a US based virtual assistant, there are many resources where you can find them, and they are awesome. What I do and what I specialize in is helping entrepreneurs find their perfect virtual assistant in the Philippines.
Mhm.
So there is a cost involved in our service, but then once that cost has been, once our service has been utilized, which what our service is everything from soup to nuts. Like, we start with a consultation, breaking down that job description, really coaching through what are the
Great.
most important things, what are the pluses, like the medical experience and things like that's not required, but that would be pretty awesome, right? Like, I had one who was an ed tech company. They do it's an app for writing for kids, and I said, wouldn't that be funny if we got an English teacher? and we both had a good laugh, and then we found her an English teacher. So like, who's
They're out
helping her
there.
do summer workshops for her, for her kids. So we go through that whole job description process. We post the job for our clients. We receive all the applications, which can be we've received anywhere from 300 to 1,400 applications for
Wow.
one position. There was 1,400 applications. We do all the interviews. We get sample works, references, background checks, all of those things, so that you can have a solid top 3 that we deliver to you.
Wow.
And then you just have to decide which of those top 3 you want to interview, which I always say interview all of them, because you never know what your vibe is going to be like, even though you've seen an interview with them. And then we support you along the way. And then I provide, along with the initial consultation for the job description, I provide a consulting call, which I call a midpoint call, where we really nail down some of the things that you need to be ready for that VA, so that you don't have the deer in the headlights when you start on day one. We want you to feel like you got the best possible VA for you, but that you also feel prepared for that VA. And so that's what our service provides.
That's awesome. When I was working with the solopreneur audience, for the most part, the thing that was real clear is they didn't know how to do any of those things. They didn't know how to put together a job description. They didn't know how to really define what they needed, because they just knew it was chaotic. So that is, all of those steps that are supportive are so great to help people make the right decision.
Yes.
Yeah. So where do people find you?
I was going to say really quick, the end result is somebody that is also very affordable. You're providing an opportunity for somebody in a third world country who's extremely intelligent, very well suited to you, but also very affordable for your business, for an ongoing relationship. So that's why a lot of people would go through our service. Please find me everywhere. My website is linkcs.com. That's linqcs.com. I'm on LinkedIn as Riah Gonzales. I have a podcast called The Client Experience Revolution, which is everywhere. YouTube channel under Riah Gonzales, Twitter under LinkCS, everywhere. Just Link Consulting. Come find me.
Okay,
send
cool.
DM on this thing here. Right. And like I said, I'm super open to just conversations. Like if people just have questions, I don't hoard my knowledge for myself. It is for everyone. So I'm happy, even in a non-sales, like you're not my ideal client and you're going to go off and do something totally different, but you need help, I will help you out. I have no problem with that. So.
You're awesome. I know you're awesome. That's why we're such good friends. You guys who are listening now, if you have any questions for Riah, put your questions in the comment section. If you're watching the replay, come on back in with comments. Riah and I will circle back in the next day or two just to catch and see if there are any questions that she can answer for you or I can answer for you. Don't hesitate to reach out to Riah, because this is an area where you want to do your best. I mean, wasting time with the wrong fit is a good way to get really distracted in your business, waste money, waste time, waste energy. So you guys make sure that you're doing this right. And it always helps to contact an expert. And that's what Riah is. So my sweet girl, thank you so much for your time.
You are so welcome.
Appreciate it. And ladies, it's so good that I love it when you join me on Wednesdays. Thank you so much. And I'll be seeing you in the group. Bye, y'all.